I ended my engagement to my fiancée after she wanted a break, to chase her ex. So I sold our house and vanished. My fiancée told me she wanted a break so she could explore whether she still had feelings for her ex. Then, I sold the house, packed up the life I had built around her, and disappeared from the future she thought would still be waiting for her. For a long time, I honestly believed Tessa was the woman I was going to marry. I am 27, she is 26, and we had been together for 4 years. 4 years is long enough to build routines, inside jokes, shared plans, and the kind of trust that makes you stop questioning whether someone is choosing you. At least, that is what I thought we had. Looking back, I wonder how many warning signs I ignored because I wanted to believe the story we were telling everyone else. Tessa and I met at a birthday party through a mutual friend. She was funny, confident, and direct in a way that made her feel different from anyone I had dated before. We clicked quickly, started dating seriously, and after about a year, moved in together because it felt natural. Our lives seemed to fit. She was a freelance graphic designer, and I was a project manager at a tech company, so our schedules lined up well. We were not living some glamorous movie version of romance, but we were happy. We cooked dinner, talked about our careers, and eventually discussed marriage and a family, as if those were the next obvious steps. Last year I proposed. It was not a public spectacle, and that's exactly how I wanted it. I made dinner at home, kept it simple and personal, and asked her to marry me in the place where we had built most of our life together. Tessa cried, hugged me, and said yes. That night, we started sketching out the future like it was finally becoming real. We talked about a fall wedding, a smaller guest list, and a beautiful little venue by a lake. For a while, everything seemed to fall into place. She sent Pinterest boards, showed me dresses, asked whether I liked tulips or roses for the centerpieces, and seemed excited about every detail. I thought I had found someone who wanted the same life I wanted, and wanted it with me. Then the first red flags started showing up, but they were small enough that I talked myself out of noticing them. Tessa's excitement about wedding planning faded after a few months. At first, she had been fully involved, but suddenly everything became something she wanted to delay. If I asked whether she had chosen her bridesmaids, she would shrug and say, "Not yet, I'm still thinking about it." The same thing happened with the dress, the cake, the music, and all the decisions she had once been eager to make. Every conversation ended with, "There's still time." At the time, I told myself wedding planning was stressful, and she was busy or tired of making choices. I convinced myself she would snap out of it. What I did not understand was that her loss of interest was not really about the wedding. It was about us. The first moment that stuck happened during a night out with friends. Someone brought up one of those dumb TikTok games where people answer personal questions while trying to keep a straight face and not judge each other. It was harmless at first, just stupid questions and laughter, until someone asked, if you could relive one relationship, which one would it be? Tessa answered almost immediately. Oh, probably Dylan. Just like that. Dylan, her college ex. The same ex who had cheated on her? The room went quiet in that awkward way people pretend not to notice. Tessa laughed nervously and tried to walk it back, saying she did not want him again, only that he had been a significant part of her past. I wanted to confront her right there, but we were surrounded by friends, so I swallowed it. Later, when we were alone, I asked her about it. I wanted to know why, out of every relationship, she had chosen Dylan. She brushed it off like I was making a big deal out of nothing. "It was a stupid game, Liam. Don't take it so seriously," she said, smiling like that should end the conversation. I did not push it because I did not want to fight over something that might have been meaningless. But it did not feel meaningless. It sat in my chest, quiet but heavy. And once I noticed that one thing, other things started becoming harder to ignore. Tessa was on her phone more often. She would scroll through messages with a secret little smile, then lock the screen when I came near. She started making vague excuses for canceling plans. Work, her mother, or another promise. None sounded suspicious alone, but together, they formed a pattern. I could feel myself being moved from the center of her life to the edge of it, and I hated that I noticed because noticing meant I had to wonder why. Then came the Friday night that changed everything. I came home from work early, excited because I thought we might order food, stay in, and watch something together. But the moment I walked through the door, the air in the house felt wrong. Tessa was sitting on the couch with her laptop open, but she was not working. She was just staring at the screen like she had been waiting for something. I said, "Hey, I'm home," trying to sound normal. She looked up and said, "You're early," like it was a problem. I tried to shake off the feeling and went into the kitchen, but the silence followed me. Normally she would ask about my day or tell me about hers. That night, nothing. Finally, I looked over and asked, "Is everything okay?" She closed the laptop and looked at me with the kind of expression that makes your stomach drop. Actually, she said, there's something I need to talk to you about. I remember standing there with a spatula in my hand, feeling ridiculous because my body knew something was about to break. I sat across from her and told her to say it. She took a moment, like she had rehearsed this but still needed the right opening, and then said, I've been thinking about us, and about Dylan. For a second, I almost laughed because it sounded too absurd to be real. Dylan? I asked. Are you serious? What about him? She bit her lip and looked away. Then she said, I think I need some time to figure things out. I want to take a break and see if there's still something there with him. I could not believe what I had just heard. I asked her if she was actually saying she wanted to pause our engagement so she could date her ex. She immediately tried to soften it. It's not like that, she said. I just want to know if I'm making the right choice with you. And if it doesn't work out, I promise I'll come back. That was the moment I understood the depth of her audacity. She had imagined leaving me on hold while she tested another option, and somehow convinced herself I would accept it. I did not yell. I did not throw anything. I just sat there and stared at her because I could not understand how she had turned our 4-year relationship and engagement into something she could set aside while she checked whether the man who had already betrayed her might be worth another try. My voice came out calmer when I asked, So what exactly does this break mean to you? She sat up a little straighter, and that told me she had practiced the answer. I think we need space to figure things out, she said. I'll take some time to see if my feelings for Dylan are real, and you can reflect on us too. I leaned forward and stared at her. Wait, I said. You need to date your ex, but I need to reflect on us? What kind of backwards logic is that? She sighed like I was the unreasonable one, and told me it was not about me doing anything wrong. It was about her figuring out what she needed. The way she said it made it clear she had already decided this was happening. She was not asking. She was informing me. I told her how insane it sounded. You don't put your fiancé on hold while you go play what if with some guy who treated you like garbage, I said. Her face tightened, and for the first time that night, I saw the stubbornness under all her careful wording. I'm not asking for permission, Liam, she said. I'm telling you what I need. That sentence hit differently. I stopped being stunned and started getting angry. I stood up and paced because I needed to move or I was going to say something I could never take back. I asked if her big plan was to pack a bag and go straight to Dylan's place. She insisted it was not like that she did not know what it would look like yet, but she needed clarity before moving forward. She said she owed it to herself to know she was making the right decision. You owe it to yourself? I asked, and I actually laughed because the cruelty of it was almost impressive. What about what you owe me? We're engaged, Tessa. We're supposed to be building a life together, and now you're telling me you need to test drive your ex to make sure I'm good enough? She snapped back that she never said I was not good enough. Then she said, if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, I have to be certain, and right now I'm not. That was it. That broke the last piece of denial in me. She was not just curious about Dylan. She was unsure about me after 4 years, after an engagement, after all the plans we had made. And worse than that, she thought her request was reasonable. I looked at her, and something in me shifted. I suddenly stopped wanting to convince her. I stopped wanting to argue my value to someone who wanted to compare me with a cheater from her past. So I said, you know what? Sure, take your break. My tone was flat enough that she blinked. I think she expected me to beg, to fight, to promise I would change, or to ask what I could do to make her certain. When I did none of that, she looked almost disappointed. Liam, I'm not trying to hurt you, she said. I just need space to figure things out. I nodded and said, all right, if that's what you need. She hesitated, waiting for the argument that never came. Then she stood up and said she would stay at her mother's house for a while. This isn't forever, she said. We'll talk when I've had some time, okay? I just said, okay. She went into the bedroom, and I listened as she packed a bag. I sat on the couch with my face calm and my mind racing. When the front door finally closed behind her, she probably believed she had left me there to wait, worry, and hope she decided I was still worth choosing. What she did not understand was that the second she walked out to explore Dylan, I stopped being her backup plan. If she wanted a break, I would make sure she got one. After I first shared what happened, people told me not to sit around and wait for her. They were right. I called my best friend Noah. He has been my closest friend since college, and he is not the kind of person who sugarcoats anything just to make me feel better. He came over with pizza, listened to the whole story, and by the time I finished, he looked like he could not decide whether to laugh or punch a wall. Dude, he said, you realize she's going to try to crawl back when things with Dylan don't work out, right? He was right, of course. The more we talked, the clearer it became that I needed to act. Not out of revenge, but because I had to regain control of my life before she kept me emotionally frozen in place. I started with the house. Tessa apparently forgot, or chose not to think about the fact, that the house was entirely in my name. She loved calling it our home, and she loved talking about the curtains, paint colors, decorations, and throw pillows she had chosen, but I was the one paying the mortgage. I called a realtor first thing Monday morning. The realtor came by, walked through the property, and because the market was hot, we listed it right away. There were already interested buyers almost immediately. Meanwhile, Tessa had no idea. I am pretty sure she imagined me sitting in the house, waiting for her to finish sorting through her feelings like a loyal dog by the door. Then I started removing her from my day-to-day life. The live, laugh, love signs came down. Her decorative pillows were donated. Her clothes, toiletries, and personal items were packed carefully because I was not trying to destroy anything. But I was not inviting her back to collect them at her convenience. I hired a moving company. They loaded everything, took it to her mother's house, and left a short note from me. Here's your stuff. Good luck with Dylan. Some people might call that petty. I call it efficient. She asked for space, so I gave it to her in the most literal way possible. Mutual friends started asking questions, and I decided early not to perform grief or smear her with emotional exaggerations. I simply told the truth. Tessa needed to explore things with her ex before committing to marriage. I decided I deserved better than being someone's backup plan. That was it. No screaming, no insults, no long speeches about betrayal. The reaction was fascinating. When you do not twist the truth, people can hear it clearly. They saw the situation, and I did not need to campaign for sympathy. I also started making moves at work. There was a West Coast office position I had considered for a long time but never pursued because my life with Tessa was rooted where we were. Now those roots were being ripped out, so I applied. If the house sold and I got the job, I could start over on the other side of the country. For the first time since that awful conversation, I felt like I was moving towards something instead of standing in wreckage. Tessa tried reaching out several times that week. At first, the messages were casual, almost testing the temperature. "Hope you're doing okay," she wrote, like we were just taking a little breathing room. Then the tone changed as she realized I was not waiting quietly. When her mother told her the boxes had been delivered, Tessa called in a panic. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Why are you acting like this is over?" I kept my answer simple. "Because it is over, Tessa. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." She cried and said she only wanted time to figure things out, that I was being too quick, that this was not what she meant by a break. I asked her what she expected, that I would sit at home like a faithful puppy while she test drove her ex. Then she said, "But what if I realize you're the one I want?" I told her, "Then you'll have learned a valuable lesson about not taking people for granted," and I hung up. The strangest part was that I did not feel as devastated as I expected. There was pain, of course, but beneath it was relief. Every box I packed felt like I was taking back a piece of myself. Noah came by again to help me pack, and at one point he looked around and said, "You seem different, more focused." He was right. When Tessa first told me she wanted to explore things with Dylan, it felt like my world was collapsing. After a few days, I realized it was only the fake version of our future cracking open so I could see what had been hidden inside. Then things escalated. The West Coast office offered me the position, and the timing could not have been better. The house went under contract, with closing set for the next month, and everything started lining up like my life had been waiting for me to stop pretending. At the same time, Tessa's Dylan exploration was not unfolding like the romantic second chance story she had imagined. Through mutual connections, I learned that Dylan had not changed much since college. He was still unreliable, still flirtatious, still the kind of man who made someone feel chosen only until a more interesting option appeared. Tessa also tried to control the narrative online, posting vague, inspirational quotes about finding yourself, following your heart, growth, and choosing your truth. It was designed to make our breakup sound like a mutual growth journey, rather than a woman asking her fiancé to wait while she checked whether her cheating ex was still an option. So I made one factual post of my own. I wrote that I was excited to announce I had accepted a position in San Francisco, and that sometimes when one door closes, better ones open. I said I was looking forward to the new chapter. That was all. The comments and messages poured in. People congratulated me, asked about the move, and asked what happened with Tessa. I kept my answers calm and honest. We're no longer together. She wanted to explore other options, so I'm exploring mine too. That honesty changed the atmosphere in our social circle. Some friends who had been unsure what to believe started seeing the difference between our reactions. Tessa was posting cryptic quotes and trying to sound enlightened. I was making concrete decisions and answering direct questions directly. Then the consequences reached her professional life. Tessa's freelance design work depended heavily on referrals and networking. One mutual contact, Sarah, worked in tech and had referred several clients to Tessa. Sarah asked to meet for coffee because something did not add up. Tess is telling people you're having a temporary separation, so you can both grow individually, Sarah said. But something feels off. What really happened? I showed her Tessa's message about wanting to date Dylan. Sarah's face said everything before she even spoke. She was shocked. By the end of that week, several potential clients had postponed or pulled back from projects with Tessa. I did not call them. I did not ask anyone to punish her. But people talk, especially in professional circles where trust matters. If someone treats a life commitment like a flexible option, people start wondering how she treats long-term projects, client deadlines, and professional promises. Tessa noticed the shift and started texting me more frantically. "Why are you telling people about Dylan?" she wrote. "You're ruining my reputation. This isn't fair. I just needed time to think." I answered one time, "You got what you wanted, time and space. How I spend mine is no longer your concern." Then Dylan, in his infinite wisdom, posted a photo of himself and Tessa at the restaurant where she and I had gone on our first date. The fact that she was trying to recreate part of our history with him was sad and almost funny. The post did not stay up long, but it stayed up long enough. Our friends saw it. The few people still buying her Finding Myself version suddenly understood this was not some abstract emotional journey. It was exactly what I had said it was. Even Tessa's sister reached out to me and apologized. She told me I deserved better. Hearing that from her own family did not make me happy, exactly. But it confirmed that I was not overreacting. The satisfying part was that I did not have to be vengeful. I just lived openly and honestly while Tessa tried to play both sides. Truth has a way of surfacing when one person stops trying to hide it. Eventually, Dylan showed his true colors again. From what I heard, he was flirting with other women, acting shady, and reminding Tessa why he had hurt her the first time. Then she showed up at my office. She was crying when she walked in, and she looked like she had finally realized the safety net she left behind had been removed. "I made a huge mistake," she said. "I was scared of commitment. I thought I needed to know if there was something better out there, but I was wrong. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." I looked at her, and I felt calmer than I expected. "No, Tessa," I said. "The best thing that ever happened to me was you showing your true colors before we got married." She tried to argue. She said we could fix it, that she would go to counseling, and that she would prove I could trust her again. But she still did not understand what had changed. "This isn't about Dylan anymore," I told her. "This is about you thinking you could keep me as a backup while you explored your options. That's not love, that's convenience." She left my office distraught, but I did not feel guilty. I felt free. The house was closing the next week. Most of my things were packed, and my new life in San Francisco was about a month away. Some people said I was being too harsh, and that everyone makes mistakes, but I could not accept that. What Tessa did was not one mistake. It was a series of choices. Every time she messaged Dylan behind my back, that was a choice. Every time she lied or hid what she was doing, that was a choice. As in 2022. Every second she spent planning to put our relationship on hold while keeping me available was a choice. She did not trip and fall into betrayal. She designed a situation where she got to explore another man, while expecting me to wait quietly in case she wanted to come home. By the time I reached San Francisco, it felt like I could breathe in a way I had forgotten was possible. My new apartment had a beautiful view of the bay, and my new office team was focused on growth, work, and momentum instead of emotional chaos. But before that chapter fully began, things back home wrapped themselves up in a way I never could have scripted. The closing on the house went smoothly, and it sold for more than the asking price. Tessa did not believe I had really sold it until she heard through mutual friends and then drove by herself. By then, the new owners were moving in. I can only imagine what it felt like to see strangers carrying boxes into the house she assumed would still be there if she returned. Then Dylan contacted me. Of all people, Dylan sent me a long message saying he never meant to cause problems and that Tessa had been the one who reached out to him first. According to him, she had contacted him months before she asked me for a break. That meant her search for clarity had not been sudden confusion. She had been laying the groundwork while still wearing my ring and planning a wedding with me. The most ironic part was that Dylan ended things because, as he put it, if she could do that to me, she could do it to anyone. Imagine being too untrustworthy for the man who once cheated on you. That was where her grand romantic exploration ended. Her professional fallout continued too. Many of the clients she had lined up found other designers. Again, not because I told them to, but because word travels and people notice patterns. One of her larger clients even contacted me and said they had heard what happened with the engagement and were looking for someone who could commit to long-term projects. They asked if I knew any reliable designers. I recommended a talented acquaintance of mine, and she got the contract. I suppose that is karma. I did not create it. I just stepped out of the way and let Tessa's choices keep moving. Tessa's social media became a strange performance. First came the sad quotes about losing your soulmate. Then came angry posts about toxic people who cannot handle growth. Then came desperate attempts to prove she was happy and thriving. The most interesting one was when she announced she was starting her own design firm. 3 days later, according to what I heard, she was sending out job applications. Her sister contacted me again and said Tessa had been staying with their parents, saying she needed time to heal from our separation. Her sister said, "She really thought you'd wait for her. When you sold the house and moved, it broke her fantasy completely. That explained everything." Tessa had not pictured consequences. She had pictured me waiting in place. One absurd moment came through old friends on a video call. They were filling me in on local gossip, and someone mentioned seeing Tessa at a coffee shop trying to explain to a potential client why her portfolio website was down. Apparently, she had forgotten that I was the one who set it up and maintained it for her. When the hosting expired, she had no idea how to restore it. It sounded small, but to me it was symbolic. For years, I had quietly handled things in the background, and she had mistaken my support for something permanent. Once I stopped maintaining the life she took for granted, pieces of it started going offline. Meanwhile, my own life was coming together. I joined a local rock climbing club. I started taking Spanish lessons. I adopted a dog from a local shelter and named him Zeus. And honestly, he has already been a better companion than my ex-fiancée. The tech community in San Francisco has been more welcoming than I expected. I was even invited to speak at a developer conference, an opportunity I probably never would have pursued if I had stayed in the old life. Trying to keep a failing relationship alive by loyalty. It is amazing what you can do when you are no longer dragging dead weight. I had one last interaction with Tessa. She sent me an email asking for old pictures from our shared cloud storage. I had already downloaded what I wanted and closed the account weeks earlier. Her email said, "I know you're trying to erase me from your life, but you can't just delete our memories. Those 4 years meant something." I stared at that message for a while, not because I was tempted to reopen anything, but because it was strange to see her finally speak like the relationship mattered, after treating it like something she could pause. My reply was simple. "You're right. Those years taught me what I don't want in a partner. Thanks for the lesson." Some mutual acquaintances still think I should be more understanding of what they call her moment of confusion. But it was never a moment. It was a calculated decision to keep me as a safety net while she chased what she thought might be a better option. She had months to think about it. She had chances to stop. She had opportunities to be honest before humiliating our engagement with that request. Instead, she chose to gamble with my loyalty and then acted shocked when I removed myself from the table. The biggest thing I have learned from all of this is that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is the thing that saves you from something even worse. If Tessa had not shown me who she was before the wedding, I might have married her. I might have built a family with her. I might have discovered years later, maybe with children involved, that I was sharing my life with someone who saw commitment as conditional and loyalty as something she could borrow until she found a better offer. Instead, I am in a beautiful city, working a great job, meeting new people, and feeling hopeful about the future in a way I have not felt in years. The pain of betrayal has not vanished, but it has changed shape. It is no longer a weight holding me down. It has become proof that I survived something I once thought would destroy me. I am grateful now, not for what she did, but for the timing of the truth. She showed me who she was before the vows, before children, before our lives were tied together in ways far harder to untangle. For anyone going through something similar, believe people when they show you who they are. Do not wait around hoping they will change their mind about your value. Life is too short to be someone's backup plan. Sometimes the best revenge is not getting even. Sometimes the best revenge is getting better, walking away, and building a life so full that the person who treated you like an option no longer has a place in it. That chapter of my life is officially over, and for the first time in a long time, I am not afraid of what comes next. I am excited for it.